represents the county and the town as a whole, and you'll learn of the need in our community. I think some of her numbers are going to be very eye-opening for a lot of us. Something we need to pay special attention to. There are a lot of people in need, good people in need. But Mrs. Cheatham is the director of the Warren County Department of Social Services. She was appointed director with the retirement of Beth Rivas. Deanna holds dual master's degree in business administration and human services counseling from Liberty University. She has more than 12 years experience with the Virginia Department of Social Services. She began her DSS career in 2006 with the City of Franklin Department of Social Services as an employment service worker. During her career in Franklin, Mrs. Cheatham also served as a social worker, senior social worker, volunteer domestic violence prevention trainer, and family services specialist supervisor. In August of 2016, she was hired by Warren County as the assistant director for our department. Mrs. Cheatham is the mother of 5 children and stepmother to 5 children. Yeah. She and her family reside in Shenandoah County. In her very sparest of spare time, she enjoys attending travel, softball tournaments, baseball, and football games, and traveling. So with that, thank you, Dina.
Well, good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning. I am absolutely thrilled to be here this morning. This is only, I think, the 3rd or 4th Rotary meeting that I've attended. I've attended a couple over on the, is it Front Royal or is it Front Royal? Is it Front Royal? Okay. I may have been in the spirit and you all didn't know it. The other group. Like Felicia said, we've worked together a couple of times, and Felicia is absolutely a joy. She's one of those go-getter people that has that personality that makes you want to be involved. Even if at the onset you're thinking, no, she's like, come. I won't bore you all too long, but you all have heard a little bit about me. But I also want you all to know that I am a social worker, whether the title changes or not. I am a social worker by heart. So everything that I do is because it's what I feel I'm driven to do, and in whatever capacity that I'm able to do that with. I hope you all will find this presentation informative. At any point in time, please feel free to come by the office. Chad and I were talking about it a few minutes ago. Come by and see it if you haven't seen it. I know there's people that went to school there, so you might would like to see what it looks like now. It's a little bit repurposed, more colorful. I think a family-friendly place. So please feel free to come by. All right. This is just a quick slide that everybody can see what the makeup of the Department of Social Services looks like as far as staff. Unfortunately, I'm not really a hierarchical type person. It just has it labeled that the director is at the top. I like to be kind of more in the center and not somebody that people think it is sitting high and looking low. If they're out in the street, I'm out in the street. If they're getting dirty, I'm getting dirty. I kind of draw the line at that comment, but anything other than that, I'm there with them. These are just some demographics for Warren County in regards to the type of people that we serve, the type of people that are living in poverty between 2015 and 2016. These are the most updated numbers that we have. And you can see from these numbers that in 2015 there were 4,289 people that were living in poverty. And that number in 2016 increased slightly to 4,143. That is a good thing. Hopefully that's because people are able to find jobs that are more lucrative, that makes them more financially self-sufficient. It could be because we also have a bit of a transient population. And you will see that people kind of go across the county lines, and they're in Warren County this month or this year. They may be in Frederick County or Shenandoah County later. Overall, the number of children in the locality between 2015 and 16 did drop by 1%, and that is always a positive. Just wanted to give a brief overview of how DSS serves the community. And I know some of these are things that people already know about, and some of them you may not actually realize. Of course, we offer food stamps, which is now known as SNAP, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. And that's just you'll see people, it used to be in the old days, and some people think I'm not old enough to have old days, but apparently I am. But in the old days, they were actually paper coupons, so to speak, and you would see people that came in and at times would have to hand them to the cashier and would tear them off. Well, now they've been upgraded to where they're on a card, just like our bank cards and credit cards and everything. The TANF program, which stands for Temporary Assistance for Needy Families, that's the cash payment that some of our families receive. In order to be eligible for TANF, you have to have a child that's residing in the home. It's important to also realize and to kind of remove some of the stigma associated with the TANF program, and then to kind of educate people on what that actually looks like. The state is not just giving away free money throughout infinity. That's not how it works. I know sometimes that's the misnomer. The TANF program is set up so that you have a total of 24 months at any one period of time that you're able to receive cash benefits. You're only able to receive those cash benefits for 24 months on, then you have to be off of the program for 24 months. The goal of the program is that during the time that you're there, that you're getting job skills training, that you're getting some education, whether it's GED or going back to school in general, getting assistance with any barriers to employment, which could include things like driver's licenses, if there's suspensions or fines, anything like that, so that the person can become self-sufficient, hopefully not have to come back in the program in the next 24 months. There is a 60-month maximum, lifetime maximum that people are able to receive those TANF cash benefits. So after 60 months, 5 years, there are any other cash benefits. The VIEW program that you see right under there, that runs along with TANF, and that's the program that assists people with getting those barriers, removing some of those barriers and getting that training. Everyone is probably a little bit more aware of Medicaid that's available, and that's the insurance for our families, for our children and elders. And then there's also energy assistance, which includes fuel, cooling, and crisis assistance. It helps with some of the energy bills, the fuel assistance bills, whether it's kerosene, wood, electric, or gas. And there's also child care assistance for our working parents. If you've got children that you're paying for daycare, that takes a huge chunk of money out of what you're trying to bring home. And if you're working and trying to do all of that off of $7.25 an hour, $8 an hour, $10 an hour, that can be astronomical. These are some of the statistics for the benefit recipients that we have, and these are specifically for Warren County. The interesting thing that I'd like to point out here is that you can see for our fiscal years 2012 through 2016 that we had a decline in the number of TANF recipients that we had. We also had a decline in the number of SNAP recipients that are in the county. However, you will see that there's an increase in the number of Medicaid recipients in the county. So again, with those TANF numbers going down, there's a couple of reasons. It could be that there are people that have cycled out and they no longer, they're in that 2-year time period off, they exhausted their 60 months and there's no more time for them. We could see over the next couple of years where those numbers may escalate again. Hopefully it's because they're able to find jobs that do not require them to have to be on TANF and need our assistance.
Deanne,
Yes.
do you have any insight into why the number of Medicaid recipients went up at the same time that
The TANF numbers went down?
Yeah.
It's quite interesting, and I'm trying to dig down to actually see if I can get a more specific number. I'm wondering in some respects if people were able, if the Medicaid number went up because one, there was a larger population of people that now were eligible for Medicaid. And it's also quite possible that people, because they now had medical insurance, that they were able to afford food versus medicine. So that's my thought. And in actuality, the arena where you're able to use SNAP benefits has increased. You're able to use them now at even farmers markets, and that's not some place that you could use them at before. So there's better access to high quality foods and nutritional food. On this slide, this just talks about a few of the services that the Family Services Department actually provides. So at social services, we're kind of divided, and I don't like to use that term, but we have two separate departments. There's the benefits side and then there's the family services side. Oftentimes people look at family services before the title change protection, and there were social workers. I guess we're still social workers, family service workers, we're still the ones in the street helping. But that includes child protection services, foster care and adoption, foster care prevention, crisis emergency intake, adult services and adult protective services, and resource parents, which are the same as foster parents. When Felicia was talking about some of the statistics in the county, these are the numbers that bring things home for me. As you all heard, I'm the mom of 5. We don't actually use the term stepmom or stepdad in our house, or stepgrandma and whatever else. We're all family, whether you were born in my stomach or born in my heart, you're still there. And because of that, when I see these numbers and see having been the investigator that, investigated all the different types of abuse, whether it was, physical abuse, sexual abuse, having investigated all of these things, there's a name, and there's a face, and there's a story behind those tears. Child Protective Services, and these are all, again, Warren County statistics. In state fiscal year 2016, there were 623 children that were the subject of Child Protective Services investigations or family assessments. Of that 623, 170 of those children were under 4. Yay high. 254 were ages 4 to 11. 128, you can see, were 12 to 17. And the unknown number, and by the unknown number where it says 71, that doesn't mean that we didn't find out how old they were. That's not what that means at all. But when the complaint originally came in, we knew that it was a child in the home, but wasn't certain as to what the age actually was. So when you're seeing those numbers, one of the scariest numbers, subset of those numbers, are those children that are under 4. Those 170 children under 4, because those are the children that are the least likely to come in contact with any sort of outside agency, whether it's school, whether it's daycare. They're the ones that are a lot of times the most vulnerable. There's not anybody that sees them unless it's a concerned citizen, unless it's a neighbor, unless it's a church member. They're the ones that are the most likely to die. These are the child abuse cases, specific types of cases that we've seen in Warren County. And this was as of August 24th, when our system hadn't closed yet for September. There were 56 cases of physical neglect, and you'll see in a different slide, the majority of the cases that we have involved in physical neglect is not because the parents are necessarily too, quote, lazy to care for the kids. Substance abuse is taking a toll on how people are being able to take care of their children. The heroin epidemic, we have people that are nodding out, we have people that are actually dying and have their children in the homes, have little kids in the bed with them, and the person has passed away. 30 of those cases were for physical abuse. Now, that physical abuse can be anything from bumps and bruises to broken bones. And I know sometimes there's a thought that, well, physical abuse is worse than physical neglect. Well, when you have a child that's roaming the street at 2 a.m., that physical neglect can get really serious really quickly. Not only are you running the risk of that child possibly getting hit and killed, that child could have been abducted, that child could have been raped, anything could have happened to that child. And then the memory is still there, just like the scar of the bone. There were 7 cases of sexual abuse. Again, this is in Warren County. 6 cases of mental abuse and 2 cases of mental neglect. Yes.
Do you find yourself frustrated with red tape with respect to proof in situations like this when you know damn well things are happening, but because of bureaucracy, it's almost impossible to get the child the help they need?
Absolutely. What I will tell you is that how we do a finding in investigations is that we have to have a preponderance of evidence. That only means 51%. Unfortunately, a lot of the times that what happens is that people are afraid to come forward and to speak, or afraid to actually make that call. They're thinking that social services is just going to come in with guns blazing, so to speak, and just take this child and not try and understand what's going on in the home. And unfortunately, a lot of the times what happens is that the parents are afraid that they're going to lose the child, which it also could mean that they're going to lose their income, because there's child support, there's social security, there's the TANF payment. So then they start, threatening the child or children, saying, if you tell them you're ruining the family, and we won't have lights and we won't have food, and they're going to take you from us. Well, our little yay high 4-year-old or our yay high 16-year-old is now being tasked with trying to do what's in the best interest of them and their family. And that can be very, very daunting. It's equally daunting when you're trying to, something's happened, you feel it, something's going on, but you cannot get enough proof. You cannot get that confession, so to speak, that smoking gun. You can't get that information. Now, those numbers may look kind of small just because it's 56 and 30 and 7, but what I wanted everybody to kind of understand, that's not the number of people, that's just the number of cases. That's 322 clients that our workers are out in the street working with. That may be a very small section of the population when you're looking at the total number of people that live and reside in Warren County. But these are people that they're going out and they're having to see several times in the course of a day, sometimes for really, really high risk cases, when we're getting phone calls, the protective order has been violated, this person is here now. That's 322 of your neighbors that have involvement.
That was the question I was going to ask, is are all of this 322, are they in the J&D system?
No, they would not all be in the domestic relations system. How DSS is set up to be able to investigate, and that's the term that pretty much everybody knows, that CPS is coming out and we're investigating. We do investigate. The terminology is a little bit different. There's two tracks. One is a family assessment and the other is an investigation. The biggest difference is that an investigation, we're looking to determine, did it happen or didn't it happen? Is there going to be a founded disposition or an unfounded disposition? In either case, especially for family assessment, the goal is to try and find out what services the family, what's going on in the family. Is there anything that DSS needs to be able to assist with, whether it's food and shelter or something more in-depth like substance abuse assessment. If it's something more in-depth like domestic violence, because those referrals. Is it a mental health issue that's keeping people from being able to parent their children, or that's causing the parents, and I shouldn't say causing, but causing the parents to react in a way that they're like muscle memory. If they were raised in a certain way, then that's the only way that they know how to raise their children. And is that something that we need to reteach and we need to retrain? I just mentioned a little bit about the substance abuse epidemic that we have here, and it's not just here, it's all over Northern Virginia, it's the whole state, it's the whole country. And if you've not directly been impacted by a family member, a neighbor, or a cousin, a child, just wait a while. Just wait a while. And in this particular slide, this indicates that of the cases that you've seen on the previous slide, 37 of those cases at the onset, when we got the complaint, were already showing that there were signs of whether drug, alcohol, or both, could even be prescription medications. But that was what was indicated when we received the referral. The difference is, by the time people actually get out, substance abuse is indicated in more than half of the number of cases that we actually investigate. Oftentimes it's just marijuana, and I know that there's like, oh, it's just marijuana, and it's not addictive, and it's legal, and whatever all else. But there's marijuana, then there's marijuana that's laced with everything, including the kitchen sink. There are kids that will go to, this is also including prescription medication, there are kids that will go to their basically pill parties, where they dump all their grandparents' medicine, their parents' medicine, they're dumping them all in a big old punch bowl. And well, you just pick whatever color you want, red, white, yellow, green, purple, pink, here, pick 2 or 3. If you want a fentanyl patch, well, let's give you one of those too. And then they're drinking with that. So, you've heard of a Molotov cocktail, this is even worse. So if you've not been directly exposed to it, or even indirectly, just wait a while. This next slide is talking about the number of kids that are in foster care. Now, I keep saying this, but these are the number of Warren County kids. This is not some fictitious number someplace else in the state. This is not just across the line over in Frederick or Winchester or Shenandoah. These are the people that are right here. There are total, and actually this number has changed. There's actually 15 children that are in foster care. So in most time, there's another child that's in care, and that was due to a neglect issue. That also was because of a substance abuse issue. But sadly, there's only 3 approved foster homes in Warren County. 3. So then the question is, where are those other kids? What's happening to all those other kids? They're every place except Warren County. So just imagine for a second, if you will, being that child that all of a sudden in the middle of the day, middle of the night, middle of the week, all of a sudden is being taken out of your home. The smell of your home, your clothes, your dog, as my mom would say, your dirt, your mess, your noise, all of a sudden all of that's gone. Now, not only do you not go to the same school, you don't even get to see the mountains. You don't even get to smell the same air. Now all of a sudden you're somewhere where all you hear is, noise of excess traffic, or you're hearing, trains in the street, or you get the smell of salt air. There's not any salt air right here. You're seeing people that don't look like you. You're in a house with people that don't look like you. That's what it means when there's 11 children placed outside of Warren County. It's traumatic enough to have children that are having to be removed from their homes, but it's even worse when they're going to an area where they have absolutely nothing to relate to. And in some respects, they could truly feel like they're being held hostage. They don't have a say in where they go. They don't have a say, at least this is the way that they feel. They don't have a say in whether or not they walk out the door. They don't have a say in whether or not, they're going to have hamburgers that they hate because they got shoved down their throat, or because they're vegetarian and we don't know that when they're food. That's what that means. So I would employ you all, I would charge you all, if you're not able to be a foster parent, to spread the word, to volunteer, to have other people become interested in being foster parents. When we're having to go out and remove kids, at the very, very least, they deserve to have homes that are here in Warren County, as much as we can provide those.
Ideally, how many would you have available in Warren County?
It really just kind of depends. If we could have 10, that would be great. If we could have 50, that would be astronomical, and they would be filled. There's not a doubt about it. This is not even just, again, a Warren County issue. This is a national issue. There are children that are having to go into group homes because there are not foster homes able to take them. Not just because some people, only want infants or only want toddlers. It's very difficult to find homes for people that want to take teenagers. Teenagers are special. I have several of them. Teenage girls are even more special and really need their own island.
Preach.
But I do completely understand. But when we're having to place children in group homes, a group home is not a family. When you're trying to come home for I don't know, college, graduation, or just because you're sick, you've got a cold. I can call my mom now and be like, oh, I've got an ache, I've got a pain, I've got a something, or just to have a boo-hoo moment, you've got that person to call. You don't have that person to call in congregate care, which is what a group home is. And just because you're approved for a foster parent in Warren County doesn't mean that you just take Warren County kids. You can take kids from anywhere. You can accept kids from absolutely anywhere, and I am completely open to allowing our foster parents to be able to take kids. A child is a child regardless of where they live. These are just a little bit more stats on foster care prevention cases, and these are the cases where we're trying to keep the family from losing custody of the child, either voluntarily or involuntarily, and keeping them from having to come into the system and getting kind of ahead of the law when it comes to prevention, as you can see on the bottom, where the pound of cure. We've got 32 of those cases right now. Now, in the last few years, there's been a bigger push for prevention cases. Prior to that, there was not necessarily the state mandated emphasis to do prevention. But think about it. If we weren't doing the prevention on these cases now, these are just 32 cases. I don't know what the number of kids are, but let's just say we'll double it. That could be 64 children that could potentially end up coming into care because they didn't have access to the services, didn't know about the services, or they weren't offered until it was too late. April, as you will see on there, I'm not sure if you all saw these last year, but April is Child Abuse Prevention Month. It's been Child Abuse Prevention Month for several years, and you'll periodically see, not even just here, but it's national, you will see these blue ribbons. So we planted several last year, and it's something that we will continue to do. When I was in Franklin City, we had a huge penguin garden and a poker run for anybody that rides motorcycles, but just so people could get out and understand the need for prevention, If you see our sign out there, there's a sign that says, please pick from our garden, pick from our penguin garden, stick it in your flower pot on your yard. Put a blue light up so that people know that you absolutely support child abuse prevention. This is one of the newest initiatives that the state has kicked off. I actually should have brought one today. I had one in my truck because I presented to the Board of Supervisors yesterday. But this is the Safe Sleep Initiative. This kicked off August 23rd, and it's a partnership with Baby Box University. Now, before anybody gets terribly frightened, the babies go in the box. There is no top for the box. People get a little eyebrow raising at that thought. I'm really, really happy because when I first saw that the state was doing this, and actually prior, it's really interesting, even prior to the state saying that they were going to do this, in Warren County in the last 3 or 4 years, there have been 4 cases of what's deemed as sudden unexplained infant death syndrome. Oftentimes in those cases, what's happened is that the baby is suffocated, either the parent is rolled over on them. It's basically because of an unsafe sleep practice. The baby has gotten snuggled down in the sofa or in the easy chair and suffocates. Not always intentionally, and unfortunately, the majority of times it's not intentional. Being a first-time parent, completely exhausted, not knowing literally which end is up, and this is what's happened. Having investigated these cases, there's no piece of paper saying that your investigation was founded or unfounded that's going to take away that memory, that's going to take away that hurt, and it's certainly not going to bring back that child. So the state is partnering, like I said, with Baby Box University to start distributing these baby boxes. And this is not just a matter of having the stuff. In the cases even here and in the cases that I investigated previously, oftentimes people had the stuff. They had the crib, they had the pack and play, they had the bassinet, but it was full of stuff.
Yeah.
It was full of diapers, it was full of clothes, it was full of stuff. It was full of everything except for the baby. And at that point, it's a good thing the baby wasn't in there because it wouldn't have even found the baby. So this is not just a matter of providing them more stuff, but also providing them a safe environment for this baby. It's not meant for babies to stay in here long term. It's meant for them to be able to get access to more information as to how they can help to prevent those sudden unexplained infant deaths. One of the most important things with these baby boxes is not just for DSS clients, it's not just for Warren County clients. You have to be a Virginia resident. Other than that, anybody can get a baby box. All you have to do is it's about a 20-minute online training. You put your email address in, you come out with your certificate. Baby box goodies are in the baby box, which include diapers, and we're getting pacifiers. I believe this week you'll get a certificate in there that says you completed it, and happy baby box. The other thing that does is that gives you a name and a face so that you can come back to us and say, I don't know what I'm doing, and that's okay. Everything in this life that we get training for and gave the instruction manuals for, we don't give them for the most important things in our lives.
Are you all partnering with Healthy Families?
Yes.
This initiative?
Yes, and that's one of the things I was just going to mention. So, like I said, the baby boxes are not meant to be long-term. So Healthy Families also has the pack and plays, the little playpens. However, they cost far more. The baby boxes, completely donated by Baby Box University. So the part of the good thing of having the name and face is to say, you know, when your child is a month old, you know, let's put you in contact with. They're able not only just to offer you a pack and play, there's places that can give you car seats, but we're also able to help you with some support and some parent education. And think about it, when, you know, whether it's been 50 years ago or 10 years ago since you last had a child, you're excited, you're going out and you're getting all this information, and you've got pamphlets, and you've got sticky notes, and you've got to-do lists, and you've got best practices, and then the baby gets here and you're like, what?
So something we've been running into nationally is that breastfeeding support organizations are extremely defensive about cultural practices, even if they kill you. And have you reached out to the Wabash League?
They are completely against baby boxes.
Not surprisingly. Okay.
Yeah, they are completely against baby boxes. The health department, I won't say the health department certainly in Warren County, but as a state, they are not supporting the baby boxes. They encourage co-sleeping. And I can tell you, of those 5, they slept in the cuff of my arm. They had playpens, they had cribs, and they had bassinets. Periodically, they got in there, and they, you know, wake up, need to eat, and fall asleep in the cuff of my arm. And thank God nothing happened to any of them.
I know the health department is not supporting this.
Right.
That's a misleading statement.
No, the health department is not. And I don't mean just Warren County Health Department. The state health department is not. The Virginia Health Department is not supporting baby boxes.
Yeah, there's a state organization, a national organization called the Infant Coin.
Okay.
And they meet with partners like insurance organizations, hospitals, social services at the state and national level, and they have task forces on things like that. And the problem with the baby boxes, even though it's been a national practice in Norway.
Actually international, because it started in Finland.
Well, that's what I'm saying. In Finland, they've had many years of experience, and the problem is that they've done it so long, there's no evidence of what happens there if you don't use them. And
You're right.
so the reason why you can't get an endorsement is the evidence base.
And that's the scary part, because the evidence would be negative. If you're seeing what the other option is, do we really want to have a death because you didn't use it? You know, there's one thing to have a research study that shows, you know, 55% of the people show that they got better and 35% show that they didn't, and whatever the math says, people, you know, couldn't tell you one way or the other. But if you're looking at infant deaths, there's no way to come back from it. You know, I guess there could be a near death, but you know, the near deaths are likely not going to be reported to anybody. But the deaths, there's no way to come back from it. So it is very interesting to say, Is the box going to be the savior? Absolutely not. Is the education going to be the savior?
But it's hard. It's like people deciding smoking isn't good for you.
Right.
It's a tough.
And now we vape, so that's
And
better.
I was amazed that the breastfeeding community didn't embrace this. You know, I think, oh, anything to save the baby.
Right.
But no, that co-sleeping is a hot,
Yep, hot topic. Yep.
hot topic, and it's just definitely.
Absolutely. And
How much do you think people's biases come into play? I mean, so part of me, as I'm sitting here listening to this conversation, I'm thinking, well, if I'm a middle class, always been middle class background, you know, fairly well educated, whatever, you know, yeah, I'm going to take one side of the co-sleeping thing, but poverty is a different animal. And it seems like there is a class bias.
And I will tell you what's probably one of those eye-opening things. Of the 4 cases in Warren County, 2 of them were from not even just middle class, but middle class and upper middle class. And one of them was from poverty. The other one was just kind of, and 3 of those 4 completely accidental. Completely accidental. There was no malice. Truthfully, in all 4 of them, there was no malice. There was no ill intent. There was nobody set out to smother this child. And that's the one thing that makes it that much more, I guess, gut-wrenching, because it's not a matter of poverty. It's not a matter of, and sometimes not living in poverty gives people that false sense of safety, because they think, oh, you know, it's not going to happen to me because I'm not one of those people. Well, surely it was one of those people because, well, they were probably drunk, or they were probably high, or they were probably something. No, these people weren't. These people were good parents. The middle class people, the upper middle class people, the people that were living in poverty, they were good parents. They were exhausted, good parents. Just this morning driving in, I'm behind this truck, this pickup truck, and it kept tapping the line. It's tapping the white line, it's tapping the yellow line, it's tapping the line. I'm like, okay, are you drunk, or are you tired, or are you high? Either way, it's a bad combination. That's that parent. That's that parent. I've got to keep going. I've got to get to work. I've got to keep the lights on. I've got 1 other child, 2 other children, 12 other children, 6 cats, 4 dogs, you know, and a partridge in a pear tree. And then there's not anybody else there. It's a child that was in care. It's a child that was in a group home that does not have grandma to call, that does not have aunt to call, and is just thinking, if I call anybody, they're going to take my child. Thank you guys for the question. Okay, so adult services and adult protective services. So we go from one end of the spectrum to the other end of the spectrum. Sometimes people say it's from the cradle to the grave, and I'm like, I think we could really change that. Can we change that just a little bit? But by definition of adult, and you all can read this, but it's for the state, it's any person that's 60 or older, or any person 18 or older if you have a documented disability. And the mandated services that social services has to provide are adult protective services. So it's quite similar to child protective services. The only difference is that 1, it's adults, and oddly enough, 2, even in adult protective services, the adults get to say, nope, I don't want to have anything to do with you, and we have to kindly say, well, thank you. If you need us, please feel free to come back, where the children don't get to make that choice. We also do pre-admission screenings, and these are for nursing home placement or assisted living placements. And you'll see that assisted living facility assessments and reassessments. And in some cases, guardianship reviews, and not in some cases, we do them all the time, but guardianship reviews are for people that have a guardian that cares for them, and then the attorney usually has to go out once a year and then send them to the agency. These are some adult services and adult protective services statistics that you all are also able to see. And you will see on here, the highest number of cases that we have, and again, these are Warren County numbers, are for, you'll see that's the blue bar over there, for physical neglect. And oftentimes this physical neglect isn't because of the caretaker that's neglecting the person, but it's self-neglect. I can do it, I can get to the doctor, oh, I don't feel like it this morning, so I'm just not gonna go. Oh, I couldn't open my medicine bottle, so I just didn't take it, and I didn't have anybody else to call. That's the largest number that we have in Warren County. But you also see what comes in second with that is financial exploitation. And that is another one of the most hurtful things when you have people that truly set out to take away from those people that are living on a fixed income, or may not be living on a fixed income, may be independently wealthy, but they're taking from the seniors in the community. And you'll see that there even is a small population down there, small number down there of sexual abuse. Sexual abuse is not just for children, and that sounds terrible. It does not just occur in children, it occurs in adults, it occurs even in the adults, for rape and incest that weren't even captured in these numbers. This was a GIS map that I had, I forgot what his name is, but anyway, that I had him to develop for me. This was based on the number of allegations that we received, and again, these are all Warren County. And what I was interested in trying to find out, because of where the abuse was located at, or the neglect was located, was there anything that the agency could do? When we're looking at those self-neglect cases, is it because they're not able to get down off the mountain to get their medications filled? They're not able to get, the snow out the driveway? What were those issues? But the larger number of those cases are actually right here in Front Royal. So there are some of those outliers, but the larger number of those are right here in Front Royal. So, what does all of this truly mean? I know a lot of the times I think I heard we've got some people that are financial background. People want to know what's the dollars and the cents? What does this cost? Sometimes that's what keeps people from being able to help, or they're not certain what's going on. The greater majority of the money that funds social services expenditures and these services comes from the federal government. So you will see that big, nice number down there in red. The total amount of money spent on social services in Warren County in 2016 was over $54 million. That's not how much money Warren County put in. The amount of money that Warren County had to put in, and if you're talking about a return on investment, well, this is pretty good. $1,760,038 is the amount of money that came from Warren County for a return of $54 million. Now, I'm not a gambling person, I'm not a betting person, but if I could get that return, I probably would be. What I really want, if there's anything that you can take away from any of this, and how can we help? I know that Rotary, we're always trying to help, we're always trying to figure out where is the need, and there's international needs, and there's community needs, and there's Warren County needs. So if we could drill it down, one is to become a foster parent. If you can't become a foster parent, become a respite parent. And that respite parent is somebody that when the foster parent needs a break, needs a time out, or gets sick, or is going on vacation, or something along those lines, hey, the kid can come to your house for the weekend. The kid we can place in the middle of the night until we're trying to get things sorted out and find relatives. Child can come to your house. The other thing, and I know in Northern Virginia, this is something that came out like with the 9/11 attacks. You see something, say something. You can make a complaint and be completely anonymous. You don't have to give us a name. You don't have to give us a phone number. You don't have to call and give us anything. But if you see something that you're thinking, I don't actually think you should have punched that child in the face like that, then give us a call. Even if it's something, something's just not exactly right. There's a lot of cars going in and out the house at 2 o'clock in the morning. There's a lot of yelling. There's needles in the yard. The kids are, always at my house begging for food. Give us a call. There are some things when we're talking about bureaucracy and do we kind of butt heads sometimes, there are some things that we cannot go out on, or that they don't meet our criteria, don't meet the state's criteria for a child protective services investigation or family assessment. But even oftentimes in those cases, I'll have a worker to go out to see if there's any service that might be needed. It's just a matter of saying, hey, I heard you guys might be struggling. Is there something that we can do? Warren County has a community liaison, and that's solely Michelle Smeltzer. That's solely what she does. It might be somebody that falls in the gaps. They're not a child, yet they don't meet criteria for assistance under adult services or adult protective services. It still doesn't mean that they may not need help. They might have a mental health issue. They might be homeless. They might be transient. They may be in need of medication. And that's part of what Michelle does. Help spread the word about new initiatives. If you have somebody that is pregnant at your church, at your school, at Walmart, send them to social services. We'd be happy to set them up with a baby box and link them to other resources. Volunteer in the community. You all clearly already have so I'm preaching to the choir with that one. But get out there. The best way to be able to stop something or see something is to be there. If you're not part of the solution, then you're part of the problem. Lastly, that is my information. And like I said, at any point in time you guys want to come by and tour the building or have a question or just want to come by and see my smiling face, by all means, please do. Thank you. Any questions?
First, I want to thank you for your service to the community. It is a hard, frontline job. I wonder if you could say a word about the role of FAPT and CPMT in this process.
Absolutely. So, when we're talking about funding, the state and the government has different pots of money, so to speak. So when we have children that are in foster care, or if we have children that have mental health issues through CSB, or have school issues in need of IEP or additional services, those children are referred to what's called the FAP team. It's the Family Assessment and Planning Team, which is a group of individuals, and in Warren County, they meet twice a month, the first and second Wednesdays of every month. There is a case manager that would bring that case to FAP. It could be somebody from the CSB, it could be somebody from DSS, it could be somebody from the school. And what they're tasked with is getting as much information as they possibly can about the child's needs, about the family's needs in lots of cases, services that have already been provided, the things that are going on in the home, and how can we fund those additional services that might make things better for that child? Whether it's for an assessment for the child, or is it an assessment or a need for information for the parent. A lot of times people think that, oh, it's just this child, it's just this teenager that's just mouthy and being disrespectful, and okay, well, we're going to take the child out of the home and put this child in residential. Okay, well, the child has to come home. You can't offer services to the child, and then the parents that are supposed to be the adults don't have the services. They still are reverting to the exact same way that they were raised or how they grew up. So FAPT basically makes a recommendation for the services based on what the caseworker and the team has come up with. Sometimes caseworkers come in and they have an idea as to what we need to have a parenting capacity evaluation. Actually, we don't need a parenting capacity evaluation. There was one done previously. We've got IEP records, we've got other things. What the parent actually needs is a substance abuse evaluation. What the parent actually needs is parent mentoring. What the child actually needs is a mental health liaison. There are various other services that can be provided. So FAPT makes a recommendation, and then CPMT, which is the Community Policy and Management Team, which is made up basically of the heads of the same people that sit around the table for FAPT, then they approve the recommendation, and that's where it comes down to the money.
But there's one or two slots for community members there.
Yes, on both sides. There's a parent rep that's on the FAP team, and then on CPMT, and there's actually another board I'll tell you guys about, but on CPMT, there's also a parent rep that sits on there. And these are all public meetings. FAP's not, but CPMT is a public meeting, so you can always come to CPMT for public comments. There are times that it's closed because of the information that's shared, it's client-specific information. But another place that you all might particularly be interested in is our Youth Advisory Board that was developed out of out of CPMT and out of the strategic plan that the county developed. I believe that was in 2013 or 2014. There is a huge survey, I guess would have been completed about a year ago because it was when I first started. And it looks at all of the, not all the things, but it looks at a lot of the things that the children in Warren